Hello and welcome to anyone watching the recording after the event. This is the second of our 3 webinars showcasing projects funded through the Community Rail Development Fund. Here's the programme for today and also for the other webinars in the series. The one that took place last week is already available online to view via Community Rail Network YouTube channel, and you can see today's programme and the order that's going to be the presentations will be running. If you haven't already, please do book a place for next week's webinar as well. You can please also let colleagues know. Anybody's welcome, and yeah, it's an open invite for anyone that would like to attend. The format for the webinars is that we're going to have each of the 4 speakers talk in turn for around 10 minutes each, and then we'll group questions together at the end. If you've got any questions that you want to post in the chat as we go, feel free, and we'll deal with those one at a time as well. If you want to look for the recordings after the event, then you just need to go to our member services pages and have a look on the past event materials, and you'll find a link to the webinars there. So I shall stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to pass over to Rebecca Catterall from Devon and Cornwall Rail Partnership to talk about the Looe Valley Line Celebration of Words project. Rachel, I'll just get Rebecca. I will get stuff organised at my end, and then we can start sharing. Brilliant.
Yeah, we had a bit of a technical issue, I'm afraid, folks. Start off, my computer restarted this morning, and since then I don't seem to be able to share PowerPoint unless it's PowerPoint Live, which apparently I might not get my home Wi-Fi up to speed with that one. But yeah, while Gary's doing that, hello, yep, my name is Rebecca. I work for the Devon and Cornwall Rail Partnership. If you don't know us, we're a team of 4 based in the university in Plymouth, and I don't know what that was. And my role within the organisation is development officer. So I lead on our education work and our community development work, and manage our volunteer groups and things like that, amongst other things. So this was one of my projects from last autumn. Next slide, please, Gary. So the Looe Valley Festival of Words. So this was a new festival. It was kind of a resurrection of a festival that happened about 10 years ago. So as a partnership, we're very much about boosting the economy of the places served by our branch lines, trying to boost numbers on trains, as well as the community stuff. But we are very much you'll probably have heard my boss say this before, Richard, bums on seats organisation. So when there's events nearby, we do our utmost to promote them, or we come up with new promotions or events which will encourage people to travel by train. So just a couple of examples there of other projects we've done. So the music trains, and also our Looe Valley Pirate Trail. So the Looe Valley line is very much a seasonal line, although that is changing somewhat these days. So when there was a possibility of a new event, or a sort of an old event coming back in a new guise in the shoulder season, we very much wanted to work on this event with the team that were organising it, and do what we could to link the railway in with that new festival. Next slide, please, Gary. So then we did 2 more days of engagement events. So the Friday, which was the day the festival started, we had in the same heritage rooms, which is the image on the left there, we had a little pop-up literary lounge, so people could come along and make their own edible poetry, which is the image in the middle there. And Sally had some books and comics and things that we gave out to people. And the idea of that was we were hoping to pick up passing traffic. So people who were just using the line anyway, we could then tell them about the event, and maybe encourage a visit the next day, or even on the Sunday when there was more events going on. And then on the Saturday itself, we staged a pop-up creativity train, where we had again this similar sort of options of things that people actually on board the train could do. So that little girl in the jacket there has made her own little art biscuit and edible poetry that we did on board the train. So we have like a little, instead of a drinks or refreshment trolley, we have one that's full of items of creativity that people can help themselves to. Next slide, please, Carrie. What was successful? So the school engagement actually, although it was a very hectic day and quite challenging at times, was really worthwhile because we are now very much linked in with that school. I am already in touch with them about another project that we're going to do in the autumn term, creating a sort of Railway 200 themed poster for the Looe Valley line. Yeah, so I'm hoping that that will be something that we can get up across the network, but it will be the children's artwork that we'll use for the basis of that. So that's really good. We've crossed that bridge. We've got back in touch with them, which is brilliant. The on-train event was brilliant. We really had some great engagement. A lot of people had seen our Facebook advert and came specifically to do that train journey and then went down to the festival. So that was a kind of a win-win. And the overall numbers from the festival, bearing in mind it was year one, it's something that's organised by volunteers. We engaged 119 people and the whole festival did 520. So that's pretty good going just from our side. So I was very happy with that. Thinking about things that could have been better, I think in hindsight, and if I were to sort of discuss it with the team that are working on it this year, it might be better to do it a week before National Poetry Day. If they'd run the event then, still in a shoulder season, but the National Poetry Day socials and Facebook and website would put out promotion about the festival themselves, and you could link it into all of their socials. So yeah, there might be some sort of some way they could make it a little bit better from their side, but I think generally what we did worked really well. Next slide, please, Gary. So lessons learned. The school it's always a challenge. So the school, as I said, is a large one. They're a whole year intake. They wanted to bring 60 children to that event, and I said flatly no. As it was, we had, I think nearly 32, which was too many. But I said yes because I wanted to work with them, and it was a very small space for that amount of children, and they hadn't told us how many special educational needs we would be dealing with. So luckily we had plenty of other things that they could do, and sort of pulling things out of the the hat of like, oh, let's do this, because some of them were engaging for longer than others, and other young children, like that little boy Brody, the edible poetry, it just wasn't for him. But then the parcel pet, he spent ages on that. So I think the advice for working with schools for anybody that is maybe just starting out is make sure you have lots of things in your back pocket, because you just don't know what's ever going to happen. And if we go on to the next slide, Gary, and if we've got time and it will play, that is the song that we wrote on the day, but it might not go. Let's have a go.
Doesn't look like it's going to play, I'm afraid, but we'll try one more time.
No worries. I can always put a direct link to where it's sitting on our YouTube channel into the chat. That's probably easier.
Brilliant.
I'll do that. I'll find that now. So yeah, that's me.
Thanks, Rebecca. That's wonderful. I may be the only person in the room here. What is the shoulder season?
Oh, sorry. So our main tourist season down here is pretty much Easter to beginning of September, and that's obviously around the school holiday. So we always call the shoulder seasons would be sort of February, March, or October, November.
Gotcha. Okay, I was assuming that. I just wanted to check for clarity. Thanks, Rebecca. That's wonderful. Brilliant. We'll take questions at the end, as I said. Yep. And feel free to add them to the chat, anybody, if you would like. But we'll move straight on to Therese Hammond from Kent Community Rail Partnership to talk about the North Downs Sustainable Tourism Project.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, Gary. Can you see my slide?
Perfectly.
Okay. So I'm Therese Hammond, Project Officer for Kent Community Rail Partnership, and thanks for inviting me to speak about our CRDF funding that we received for our Sustainable Tourism project on the Kent Downs line. So here's a photo of one of our walking groups meeting at Charing Station prior to a North Downs Way walk. On that day, we had 35 members of the public participating with 5 very friendly and well-behaved dogs. So working in collaboration with Kent County Council, we aimed to increase sustainable tourism along the North Downs Way by promoting train travel to and from 4 stations along the Kent Downs line. All 4 stations are in easy walking distance of the North Downs Way and so provide ideal locations for installing interpretation boards and promoting walks between these stations, offering a choice of distance to suit the wider audience. So the CRDF funding was used to design, print and install an interpretation or a map board at each of the 4 stations, Charing, Lenham, Harrietsham and Hollingbourne. Together, we also aim to bring more sustainable tourism to the area and extend the typical summer tourism season to all year round by bringing visitors in by train. So what is sustainable tourism? Well, it covers the complete tourism experience, including concern for economic, social and environmental issues, as well as paying attention to improving the tourist's experience and addressing the needs of the host communities. So what did we aim to deliver? Within this project, we aim to encourage sustainable rail travel for increased visitor numbers to access the national landscape, to enjoy walking, cycling and riding along the Kent Downs Way, and therefore reducing car use. We aim to increase the number of visitors from further afield, to boost the local economy, to help combat loneliness and isolation, and to encourage active travel and active leisure. So the project stages were that I trained as a North Downs Way ambassador to give credibility and confidence to not only the participants, but also our partners. The training not only involved keeping participants safe and being able to remove them from this area, because you can't always get up, an ambulance up there or anything else. So you really have to be able to engage with emergency services if you need to remove people from this area safely, and should the need arise, hopefully not, and to date not so. As these are guided walks, knowledge of the area was essential. For example, the fauna and flora, the history of the buildings and sculptures we pass on the way, and knowledge of pilgrims, both past and present, who regularly still walk this route. I built strong relationships with North Downs Way National Trail, Visit Kent, who are part of Maidstone Borough Council, Explore Kent, who are part of Kent County Council. I planned guided walks from and to the 4 stations, designed 4 interpretation boards with Explore Kent for the 4 stations, and promoted and delivered the walks and boards with Explore Kent, Visit Kent and North Downs Way National Trail. So here's a picture of one of the boards. We can see this is the one for Hollingbourne. It says welcome to Hollingbourne Station. So each of the boards has welcome to whichever station they are installed at. And you can see just below the box on the left, a little red box which says you are here. So each of the map boards will have one of those depending on where you are. And then you can see walking along, so from Hollingbourne to Harrietsham to Lenham and Charing. Each of the 4 boxes shows the street route from the station up to the North Downs Way, and then how you would walk along. So you can walk up from any of the 4 stations and walk any distance you choose. We have a scale there so people can decide on their distance, and the distance from Charing to Hollingbourne, the full distance, is 10 miles. We have some QR codes in there so people can check their train times, and they can download this board onto their phones to take with them. We've got some points of interest along the way, and each of the boards has a little bit just about its own particular area. So what were our impacts? What were the impacts from this project? The guided walks are always popular. We have between 25 and 35 participants. So we aim for around 30 walkers. That's an ideal number because we do have some road crossings on the way. And so we allow 40 places to be booked, anticipating an approximate 25% dropout rate. And this dropout rate can increase if the weather is inclement. Most walkers are entering the area by train and from further afield. And we know this because we undertake hands up surveys before each walk and are seeing increasing numbers travelling in by train and leaving the car at home, and increasing numbers coming from further afield as well, from Dover or from London. So it's it's over an hour's train journey, 40 miles from London. It's near an hour and a half. But we are regularly seeing increasing numbers of people coming in from London, which was one of our major objectives. Our partners provide volunteer walk assistance now. So this results in only one Kent CRP officer being required for each of the guided walks, thereby reducing our resources and helping to make these guided walks more viable. The walks end at a refreshment stop, bringing economic benefit to the area. Participants who've joined our walks alone have walked to these routes independently with other participants at later dates, thereby reducing isolation and loneliness and increasing train journeys and active travel. They love coming up to me. I've had it happen several times where people have said, I came alone, I met somebody on the walk, and we've been walking ever since, and they wanted to come on a new walk with me so that then they could undertake that walk. I sort of call them taster sessions, because people seem to be reluctant to go up and undertake one of these walks for the first time on their own. But once they've walked with me or with others, then they feel confident to come and repeat that experience. And walkers have also let me know that they've undertaken some of the routes repeatedly with family and friends, again, increasing train journeys, reducing car journeys, and increasing visitor numbers. So here's our funding slide. So we're very grateful to Community Rail Network and the CRDF funding that we received. The interpretation boards cost nearly £8,000. So that was the design and production of those boards. And that was match funded by FIPL funding. That's funding, farming in protected landscapes, sorry, farming in protected landscapes, who were brought in funding by Kent County Council. So on this collaboration, we brought in the funding for the boards, and they brought in funding for staff time and for marketing, print, radio, landing page, and also Facebook advertising. So the total project was just over £16,500. This is an example of one of the posters of one of the walks. So join our free guided walk, 8 miles, 5 hours. So leaving Charing train station and coming back via Harrietsham train station. And here are a few pictures of our walk, and I'd just like to share with you the 30-second radio ad that was funded by FIPL. And this was achieved by Kent County Council.
Therese, I'm not sure we're able to hear that. I think when you share your presentation, there's a special button you have to press to say share sound. So you might need to. No, you wouldn't be the first. I will be one of the first that's done that. So don't worry. If you unshare, and then when you share again, you'll see at the bottom there's a little slide that you can turn on.
I can't see a button that says share sound.
When you hit the share button, right at the top, it says include sound, I think, and it doesn't mind you might have a slightly different version. No,
Nope, sorry about that.
not to worry.
Oh, include sound there. Yeah,
there we go.
sound. Okay,
Brilliant.
here we go. Sorry about that, everybody. We'll start again.
Peace and tranquility of the North Downs Way National
Let's
Trail.
go back to the beginning.
Life can be so busy, it's hard to take time to relax. Why not hop on the train and discover the peace and tranquility of the North Downs Way National Trail? With the railway so close, you can step off the platform and into the countryside for fresh air, open trails and zero stress. It might not be on your usual to-do list, but swapping the crowds for the countryside might just help you to reset. To find out more, visit explorekent.org/North Downs Way.
Every day's a school day, don't they? I'll know for next time. So what were our lessons learned and advice for others? So set out your objectives from the start and keep them in focus for the length of the project. If possible, become trained to offer credibility and confidence to both partners and participants. Build strong partnerships. They are well worth the initial time investment. Delegate roles to partners because you just can't do it all. Have fun and enjoy the events. If we can make active travel and being active fun, we will be encouraging repeat behaviours. Get to know the owners of the local eateries and give prior notice of when you're dropping in with a group, especially if you have a group of around 30 people. The owners may wish to have another member of staff on duty for an hour or two, and they may wish to top up their cake display, mitigating any potential lack of cake disasters. Be open to future partnership opportunities. This year, so last year we were working with the public, and this year I'm continuing to work in collaboration with North Downs Way National Trail to offer walks for hard to reach communities. So last week I brought Ashford College ESOL students, so students who speak English as a second or third language, on train travel training from Ashford International to Charing Station. We walked the 6 miles to Lenham Station before returning to Ashford International. The 16 to 18-year-olds, many of whom are recent migrants, having fled war-torn countries, learn how the UK rail network works in anticipation of future employment, as well as learning how to access leisure by rail. And on Saturday, I'm meeting 35 members of Black Girls Hike, most of whom are coming from London and a few from Margate and Dover. Their train journeys are around 40 miles, say an hour to an hour and a half, into the area, and none of them have walked in this area before. They wish to experience the trail by rail with the intention of leading their own walks in this area for their many hundreds of members in the future, all travelling in by train. So as I say, these are like taster walks, and working with partners, you really don't know what opportunities are going to present themselves, so always be open to those. There I end my presentation. However, if you'd like any further information, please get in touch.
Thank you, Therese. I've got a couple of questions about the radio advert, but I'll come to those at the end. But yes, that's really interesting, and I've not heard a recent example of that happening. So yeah, interested to hear more. Thanks a lot. We'll go straight over there to Suze Horgan from Friends of Orr Station to hear about the Orr Station Garden Project.
Hello. So we're Friends of Orr Station. I basically went to catch the train, and Orr Station is at the end of the line from London to Orr, or the Marsh Link, which then goes through to Ashford. It's a very forgotten station, unmanned, and with that it has a lot of problems and was unsightly. And I was basically catching the train and just thought the flower beds looked in a sorry state. And through my journey, the wheels started turning, and it's like, what can I do about this? And it happened really quickly. Started talking to the community members, the train, the station cleaner, anyone I could, about this idea of let's put some love, community love, into Orr Station. And then I met the lovely Sara Grisewood, who was amazing at helping me. So we found a group of people, Kevin Borman and Trevor Davis, who, and Friends of War Station, so it was properly regulated organisation, so we could go for funding and things like that, and decided to do something. I looked at the station, and my first idea was we've got to engage with people and the community itself. And I'd done some other previous street art work, so I had all the right contacts, and we got some funding, and we did street art with the kids in the back field, and it was on biodiversity, and they had big plywoods, I think it was about a metre by a metre, where they all had one each, and working with professional street artists, and we just let them go for it, really. And it was such an amazing time. I think we had about 4 workshops in all, and the artwork made us known. It was the talking point of the community, brightened up the station, and had a massive impact, along with the flower beds that we regenerated and put new plants and gave them some water. And the entrance to the station, there was just some land, and it was like, let's put a herb garden in there, knowing that there's very little water there. While this was going on, there was a bit of land as you come in station on the left, and we had our eye on this land that was owned by Orbit Housing. And both Sarah and I went knocking on the door together, saying, can we have this bit of land? But this took unbelievably amount of long time. But in some ways, with hindsight, it's probably a good thing, because it made sure that all our paperwork was up to date. Because I was busy in the garden, the paperwork would not have been done, or not as well. I'd been too distracted. So it took about a year, and Orbit Housing were very good and very supportive. But with any sort of bigger organisation, it was really hard to pinpoint them to clear the ground. So come October, it was about another 6 months, we decided that we were going to go and do it anyway. We would do it, too, so there wouldn't be any delays. The timing was quite impeccable, because all tunnel was being done for the engineering work and strengthening it. So it meant that Volker Fitzpatrick and big engineers in the whole line was closed for a couple of weeks, and they needed access to the station as well. And if they'd done it a year later, or even 6 months, we can have offered them, because everything would have been built up. So they were able to use a corner of the land to get in, but it turned out to be a great partnership. They were redoing the footbridge at the station, which was at that time all oak sleepers. So basically I got probably about 25k's worth of oak sleepers, which saved us a fortune for doing the raised beds. Also, they say they were very good, £500 towards plants, a work day with digger, 2 work days with diggers. So even though we'd done the land and flattened it and gone through, they gave us the diggers, and then donated stuff for the community garden. But going back to while this was happening, we were clearing the groundwork and the space was awful. It hadn't been used in years, absolute years. So it was completely overgrown, very much brambles, carrots grass, gorse and buddleia. Gorse is now my new nemesis, because the roots are so hard to get out. But what really didn't help the situation was there was a homeless person very nearby, well, next door, for 2 years, and he'd been using the site as a waste ground, dumping ground. 8 bags of bottled fermented pea we took out, 150 bags of rubbish. It was a really, really grim sight. I just can't tell you how bad it was. And no one could understand the vision that I had in my head. But it's like, no, it's happening, and we ploughed through. We also decided we were the better people to clear the ground, and we were doing it quite sympathetically. Obviously, it was taking a lot of, the gorse and brambles up, but trying to leave the established trees and plants, for the biodiversity. So it was a very sympathetic approach that we had, and just working with the land, really. And we did this, we cleared the land in about 4 months. So it was quite incredibly fast. But with this, and being so close to the railway, it was a talking point, and people could see what we were doing, and always stopped having conversations. So we were building up that community network, and people wanting to be involved and just being nosy, really. And then as the land got cleared, we started working with the schools and pathway projects where children were having difficulty at schools and learning needs and just struggling, year 11s. So we had about 12 work days with them, and they came in and they were distributing these stones for the paths, putting wood chip, putting the soil down, planting bulbs. I think the most amusing one was one girl couldn't even do that. She passed me a bulb as I planted it, but that's the best she could do. And, in spring, and it's still my favourite bit of the garden, it looks beautiful. So many people donated us plants because we didn't have that much money at the time. And it looks stunning. And the kids have seen this. And the community also saw our ethos, that we were inclusive to everyone, and, seeing the young people and having a good time. And it suddenly changed the whole area, doing this little bit of land. And so we carried on, sort of getting funding, and then concentrating on the little pockets of areas, because it's I think it's about an acre of land. It's bigger than we think. I'm not too good with sizes. I get too bogged down with it. So we sort of divided it up. So there was a children's garden, a vegetable area, a space for a polytunnel, and a social area, which was really important. And it's a very little woodland area with a pond. It's actually really lovely on the daylight today because it's really shaded, and we've got the plants in. And as the plants develop, we're quite secluded. And sort of different people have been coming in, schools, organisations, just to help us do it. It's been quite incredible. Arc Alexander, their students all designed what they would like in a community garden, and all of them had a train in it. So it's like, right, okay, we've got to build a train. And I was looking online, and the price of it was just unbelievable. So went up to the local wood supplier at Aylesford and ordered the wood, and we built it ourselves. And and the kids love it, and adults. It's amazing how many children want to be ticket inspectors. It's a very important role, apparently, as we found out in our community day. And it's all very new. It's just the start of the journey, but we have planted the potatoes. The children love potatoes, and they've got a vegetable garden, and we've got herb garden in the carriages. So it's a bit of a sensory garden. Everything's safe for them. And we wanted a space where they could be children, where we're not that precious about things. How can they relate to the garden, if they can't see, taste and smell? And it's their space, and their ideas, and we'll help them make it happen. So that was really, brilliant. So we worked with the planting, got some funding thanks to the Community Rail Network, and helped to fund our open day. Our open day was the official one was the 24th with the community, but we had a celebration day the day before where I think it was about 200 people were invited. It was really busy, and we were very lucky with the weather because it was nice and sunny. And it was just a way of saying thank you to everyone that helped us, because a lot of people just see a few of us, but there was actually a lot of people that had helped us, and we wanted to recognise their support, the community support, and just to celebrate together, us, the dream that we had right at the beginning, and it was really wonderful. And then the open day the following day with about 150 people, I think, came. And to my surprise, it was a real mixture of people. I just assumed it'd be mostly families, and it really wasn't. There was older people coming in wanting to know when we're going to do a coffee morning, or just coming in for a conversation and just chatting, asking for gardening advice. It was real eye-opening, and it was so lovely that it was the whole community that had embraced us, with all the different organisations and the different age ranges, and people offering, well, I've got this, do you need this, or I can help you with that. It was just wonderful. And for me, seeing the children just use the space. I mean, one little boy, he was so lovely. He was about 3 years old, came over, gave me the biggest hug and said, oh, thank you for making us this beautiful garden. It was all that hard work was made it all so worthwhile. But one of the problems that we do have at All Station, we have a lot of litter. Antisocial behaviour has improved, but there's still a bit of that. So we're still tackling that. And I'm not one of these people, or none of us are, that can come down onto people and be the big I am and say, you can't do that. And I got wind of Sussex Community Rail Partnership for the Railway 200 doing the blue plaques. So I started looking around to see who would be a good person. And we discovered Marianne North. For those that don't know, she's a botanical artist from the Victorian era, friends with Charles Darwin and Sir Joseph Hooker at Kew Gardens. Very influential lady, trailblazing and just incredible. So she went off traveling the world in all her Victorian dress, painting flora and fauna and getting the ecosystems. So it changed from Charles Darwin's, which is still beautiful pictures, but very specimen, but about biodiversity. And, she's a local to us and amazing. And it's more of what we're about. So we came up with a project to work with all the schools and community to look at British flora and fauna and how important it is, how important biodiversity, and pick up your litter message right at the end, because obviously litter does affect the biodiversity. And we did these amazing boards that have now gone up. I've got 3 more to put up, and they just look incredible. The artwork is stunning, and this was the kids' artworks. My brief was quite slim, and they just took it. And again, all of this work, has given us recognition locally that we do what we said we were going to do, and people are now looking at us for inspiration. That local people do and can make a difference, and by working together, it can be done. And on the tightest of budgets, it's just a dream, and it not taking no for an answer. So yeah, going forward, we're looking forward. We've just got grants come through, so working with GTR and Kew Gardens with young people, and looking at opening up regularly, supporting the volunteers, and just being for the community, and doing some more children's work. I've just had a meeting with Hastings Borough Council looking at the playground to see how we can improve the space for them. The children want to do more street art, so we're seeing if we can make that happen. But no, it's been amazing, and the support and learning, being in an industry. I never thought I'd know so much about trains, but I do. I'm a bit of a train spotter, and the joke is, where's my anorak? But being the presence at All Station has also linked the community and the rail network, because no one was ever there, so there was no link. I don't know all the answers, but and we all try and help the people that are coming by. And there's a lot of delays, and now they've got a nice place to come and sit and be part of our community. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. Thank you.
Sue, thank you so much. That's brilliant. And I didn't want to interrupt you, but you had some wonderful slides prepared that we haven't managed to show on the screen. So I'm going to find a way to attach them to the chat so that people can have a look for themselves, if that's okay with you.
Oh, yeah, no, thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Sue. Wonderful. Right. Well, moving straight over then to Sara Grisewood from South East Communities Rail Partnership to talk about their Rail to Ramble booklet project.
What an act to follow, Suze. I'll do my best. I knew that following on from Suze, I wouldn't end up with much time actually, so I'm prepared to go quickly because I know a lot of people will have to get off. So the Surrey Hills National Landscape is one of the first areas that was designated as a protected landscape, and it's quite a large area, but very close to really big urban areas. And I think that's really key to this, is that working with Surrey Hills National Landscape, they wanted to do a kind of rebrand, which they've done recently, from an AONB to a national landscape. So there was a little bit of that going on, but they wanted to do a new Rail to Ramble booklet, putting together all their, sorry, I'm just trying to move my slide and it's not doing. There we go. So they wanted to put together a booklet, putting together all their Rail to Ramble routes, linking the stations on the North Downs line with lovely walks, similar to what Therese was doing on the North Downs Way. And the new booklet would put together the routes and really emphasise the rail and bus connections. So the previous routes had really emphasised rail connections, but I think everyone's beginning to realise you can't emphasise rail unless you can do the other joined up bits. And that's the most important bit, because if there's a 2-hour wait for a train, you know, a bunch of hikers are not going to use that station. But if there's a bus that comes in between that, it's really good to know. So the artwork for the new booklet was used on a previous poster, which we worked together on last year, with a beautiful lino print by a local printmaker called Diana Croft. And this has been displayed at all the stations on the North Downs line. And it was decided to use the piece again for the new Rail to Ramble leaflet. So this booklet is like 5 double pages stapled together, and it's sort of tall and thin, and it's something that people would hopefully want to hold on to. So really making it accessible, as well as everything being online with QR codes and links to websites, is really something you might want to keep and, you know, have a look at to try out different walks, linking together all the different Rail to Ramble routes on here. The whole project was very much a cooperation, working together with Surrey County Council, Community Rail helped fund the printing and the launch event. We also worked really closely with the other Community Rail partnerships, because passengers and walkers, they don't care which train operating company owns the line, they just need a train or a bus. So all the QR codes and all the information links to bus and rail timetables, but it doesn't specify too much. So it keeps it flexible, but everyone is thanked on the back there. And it was really important to check the way markers for the routes. So this is me with Sam Jones, who was working with the Access for All programme at Surrey Hills. And those are the new way markers on the right. So also finding the best place, because you don't want to litter everywhere with new way markers. We had a little cat there that kept following us, trying to help us do the routes. And these are the maps that link to a platform on their website called Komoot. So I'm kind of dyslexic, and I find maps and digital platforms really difficult. So I think for me, visual paper maps are quite useful, but also quite simple ways to understand routes. And I think as a community rail person working with something like Surrey Hills, it's really important to remember that we're sort of advocates for all the different groups in the community. and to be confident enough to give your opinions when you're in a group making decisions about these kind of leaflets, which are funded, you know, with public money, to make sure that they're accessible for everyone. So we had a launch event for the booklet together with another poster with the same artist, which was done to promote the Surrey Connect bus, which is a DDRT, digital demand responsive transport, which works, which I've used several times, and you can book it from a station to get to an out of the way place that you wouldn't normally access unless you were a real enthusiastic hiker. So again, it's linking up those little bits, and all this information is in the Rail to Ramble booklet. So we had a launch with the bus at Leith Hill Place, which is quite an out of the way, amazing National Trust venue. If any of you get the opportunity to get there, it's fantastic. And this is us with the poster launch at Dorking Deepdene. And just to say, you know, we've got people from GWR here, people from SWR, people from Community Rail Network. Actually, Jenny's just there on the right, but I can't see her because the chat box is just there. And we've got people from Surrey County Council, people from Dorking Bid, from representing businesses locally. So bringing everyone together to launch this leaflet. So I'd say in terms of lessons learned, it's really that working as a team, but also having the confidence to speak up for the groups that you represent, and kind of understanding that that's what Community Rail does best, I think, to work as the sort of bridge between different groups. There we go. That's me done. Just to say, if anyone would like copies of the leaflet, because Surrey Hills National Landscape are very keen to get it out to groups further afield, we can get some sent. So they're very nice, and we can send some. So get in touch if you'd like some. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Save me one back for August the 1st when I see you in Lewis. I would love one of those. That would be great. Thank you. Brilliant. Well, we've just got a few minutes. We did start a couple of minutes late, so I'm going to be cheeky and say hopefully we can keep to 5 minutes for some questions. And as the chair's prerogative, Therese, can you tell us a little bit more about the radio advert? I'm particularly interested in what sort of reach that would have generated and at what cost.
I wasn't involved in that so much because that was the bit of the collaboration that Explore Kent delivered. So I think we might have had the funding on the funding page. I just need to look that up. But that went out on Radio Kent. Again, I'm sorry, I haven't got the figures as to their audience, but I can.
Oh, great. Well, if it's okay, I'll follow you up with that, Therese. I'm really interested. I'm just imagining lots of commuters sitting in traffic on their way back from work, hearing it on the radio, and I think that's a really exciting opportunity that I don't know how much it's been used previously. So yeah, let's follow that up.
But I can say it was I think they were very effective, the posters and all of the marketing, because 40 places were taken up within 4 or 5 days.
Yeah,
so
fantastic.
What we did, we actually extended it a bit more. So I think we offered 50 places on this one, and then we still got 35 arriving. It's really difficult anticipating how many are going to come. For instance, it's going to be so hot on Saturday. I've got 40 booked on, thinking, and they're saying they actually, because they know their members, so they think there's going to be about 35. And of course, we have to have the correct ratios of walk assistants to leaders. So it's essential that we know, really, we've got a good idea of how many people are going to come along. But I wouldn't be surprised if a lot drop out, because it's going to be 31 degrees up there, so we may get a dropout for the opposite weather conditions than we would normally have.
Great, thanks, Therese. And Rebecca's just posted about Devon and Cornwall have done some radio advertising in the past. So yeah, it'd be great to pick that up, Rebecca. Thank you. So yeah, just a few minutes. Any questions from the floor? Either put your hand up visibly, or put your hand up in the icons, or pop something in the chat.
Put something in the chat. Sorry, that's my daughter. Shift. Very distracting.
That's all right. Any questions from anyone? Jenny?
It's kind of a question. I really like this idea of calling the walks tasters. I think that's really, really smart because it takes away some anxiety over whether or not you should be there or whether it's for you. I don't know if you've had any difference in response since you changed the language, or if you recommend that. So it's a kind of half a question, but that's really struck me as a great idea.
I like to call them taste awards because I can't offer that many in a year. When you think of all the other things that we do, I could be up there practically every week running walks, but the idea is to help people to become independent walkers. And that's why I started using the terminology taster walk and showing them the map boards, and then they can drop, they can take a photograph of it, or they can, depending on their IT literacy, they can take a QR code. But people are definitely revisiting and feeling, because when you can see something pictorially, there's 4 stations, you walk up here and you walk across, and you can walk and drop down to each one. People are much more comfortable doing it on their own, whereas in the past, unless you're going to get an ordnance survey map out, you wouldn't see that. That isn't anywhere. So yeah, and I think if we were only taking a few hundred people up there every year, it wouldn't be such a big project. But knowing that there are now thousands of people walking up there repeatedly, and they are bringing in people that we don't even know, friends and family, work colleagues and corporate walking and teams and things, I'm getting lots of feedback from people. I say, let me know when you've been up here again and who you're with, and it's all different types of people. So it's, it's planting that one little seed and it really growing. Yeah, it's been really successful.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Jenny. Thanks, Therese. Any final questions before we end the webinar? Okay, well, wonderful. Well, thanks again to all the speakers for sharing your valuable experiences and lessons learned, and hopefully there'll be an inspiration for all the audience watching both today and in the future via the recording as well. Please do register for next week if you haven't already and you're interested in attending, but if you can't, then please do check out the recording on the YouTube channel at a later date as well. So yeah, in the meantime, enjoy the rest of your day and stay cool if you can. Thanks a lot for your time. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thanks, Gary.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
So